Rudolf. Come. Thank you. We are here today to tell you about a winter's day in 1995. I was 12 years old. I was out mushing with my 4 hunting dogs in my home village, Norråker, like I did most days. When one of my dogs, Macken, didn't behave as I wished, I did what older dog owners had taught me. I bit his ear hard. Macken flinched from the pain and headbutted me straight across the nose. Macken's ear bled, and my nose bled. Macken didn't behave any better or run any faster. The punishment didn't help at all. And I felt bad for weeks for having hurt my beloved dog. I thought there must be a better way. Oh, I didn't bite Rudolf. His ears was marked this way when I bought him. Anyway, a couple of years later, a relative gave me a book about clicker training. I read it and understood directly that this was the solution to my problems. A logic, scientific, and effective method that was based on motivation rather than punishment. I felt in my heart that this was a method I could practice while still sleeping well at night. I had been training dogs for a number of years, but didn't get really far using the old way of domination. I hated to punish my dog, but I knew no other way, and it really frustrated me. What I longed for was a close and fun interaction with a friend I loved, not power over some obedient servant. Clicker training made that shift possible, and I started practicing. I stopped saying no. I stopped biting, that's for sure. I stopped... Yeah, I stopped biting. I stopped yelling, and I stopped being angry. Instead, I started to acknowledge the good behaviors. Instead, I rewarded progress greatly. If anything went wrong, the reward wasn't delivered, and we tried again. After a few months, me and my dog had a whole different relationships. And at the obedience competitions, where we previously got second or third prize, we started to win. Again and again and again. It was a revolution. The basics of clicker training is to reinforce small steps in the right direction, asking for a little bit more each time, but never more than the individual is comfortable with. It's about encouraging curiosity, letting the individual grow within their realm of potential, to challenge the individual without denying it the right to say no if they're not comfortable with what we ask for. And this is where the clicks come from. A small plastic box that makes a distinct sound when pressed, letting the animal know that this was the right behavior and that the reward is coming. The clicker gives you perfect timing and consequently faster improvements. For me, this was the beginning of a new life. However, it was still just a hobby. I took classes in clicker training and started teaching the method to other dog owners. And I got myself a Labrador retriever that I trained and competed with in 8 different disciplines. However, I had always dreamt of having animal training as my profession. Most of all, training animals for films. But I understood that if I'm about to do it in the inland of Norrland, where I want to live, my business idea had to be a great one. Since reindeer have such strong symbolic value for the mountain area, Norrland, and especially Christmas, I thought that a trick-trained reindeer will basically sell itself. I just have to teach it some funny tricks. No one had, to my knowledge, been clicker training reindeer before, but having practiced the method for dog training for 15 years, I had no doubts about getting it to work. I also saw a business opportunity offering hunters to teach their dogs not to hunt reindeer in an effective and ethically sound way. What many did and still do is to release their dog into a reindeer pen and shock them with an electric collar, which is both cruel and illegal. So my dear family helped me build a paddock and a reindeer house. And I went and bought myself 2 reindeer calves straight from the mountain. I made a detailed training plan and started to click. It took a week before Rudolf ate from my hand for the first time, and I had to wait another week to get to touch him. But I never forced him. I never threw a lasso to catch him. I just waited for his trust and reinforced steps in the right direction. If I couldn't do it on his terms, I didn't want to do it at all. My vision was to work with movies and events, and the events started coming by themselves. Even before I got the reindeer, I had a vision to teach Rudolf the Spanish trot and show it at Sweden International Horse Show. And when Rudolf was 2.5 years old, we did just that. We showed 8 tricks at Sweden Horse Show on Friends Arena in front of 15,000 people. At that point, I had been training Rudolf for 2 years, but I had seen it happening in my head for at least 5. The movies was a different story. We did some commercial, but that was it. And one day, my neighbor tells me, they're shooting a comedy in Åre, only 50 kilometers away. And you and Rudolf should be in it, she said. Yeah, that was perfect. A funny comedy, of course, needs a funny reindeer. So I went for it and called the producer. I have a reindeer that would fit your movie brilliantly, I told him. Oh, well, that sounds fun. Unfortunately, there are no reindeer in my script, he said. Ah, well, you have 14 days to take care of that, don't you? I said. And he did. So thanks to the contacts we made during that job, we got a job in another movie this year where Rudolf has a lead role and Frost, my other reindeer, is co-starring. Our biggest job so far. Come, Rudolf. We are here today to talk about game change. The change in attitudes regarding animal rights and the spreading of training methods based on positive reinforcement is definitely a game change for our animals. People are realizing that animals can be taught complicated skills as well as good everyday manners without punishment, yelling, and harsh domination. Clicker training gives me animals full of initiative, happily offering new behaviors without me even asking for it. animals that escape to the training paddock. With a good plan, I reach my goals quick and effectively, and get reliable behavior that the animals deliver with ease, even in more challenging environments, like this one. We'd like to show you an example. A common way to teach horses to stand on their hind legs is to stress them with a whip until they rise to get away and leave them alone when they do. In clicker training, we use one of these instead, a target. So, I taught Rudolf to touch the end of the target with his nose, like this. And when he learned that, the rise comes by itself on the carpet, Rudolf. This it. Ja, duktig. Du kan. Du är duktig. And after a few repetitions with the target, I can teach him a signal for the behavior, and then we don't need the target anymore. So, du är duktig. Duktig pojke. So that's also a way to teach it, a nicer way, if you ask me. Us participating in Sweden Horse Show, showing how far you can get with the use of only positive reinforcement, is part of the game change for the horse industry, where there is a loud debate about the use of sharp bits and spurs at the moment. I am thrilled that this is finally being discussed, but I also realize how much work is left before clicker training is a well-established method in horse training. Clicker training has also been a game changer in my relationships to humans, especially myself. I have learned patience in the challenges of learning something new, and I have learned to identify the reinforcements that keep me going instead of beating myself up. And I have learned that failure is not a sign of something being impossible. It's just a matter of taking shorter steps and proceeding smarter. With curiosity, some good reinforcement, and an excellent plan, anything is possible. So, how come everyone aren't doing this already? After all, clicker training has been around since the 40s. First of all, it requires an attitude change. We need to let go of the idea of animals as obedient servants that we need to dominate, and instead start seeing them as co-creators with the right to will of their own, and trust that they want to cooperate. It all comes down to motivation. We just need to make it worthwhile enough. Second, you need to have that plan, and that can feel daunting at first. The clicker is never better than the hand holding it, and randomly rewarding your animal with candy won't teach them any more than randomly pulling their leash will. Clicker training is a highly step-by-step pedagogical method that takes some effort to get into, but as you get the hang of it, results come quickly. As soon as you start to reinforce good behavior, more good behavior will come. But what brought me to clicker training was ultimately the love for my animals, something I share with the vast majority of you animal owners out there. I hope that the work that I do with Rudolf and other animals will encourage and inspire at least some of you to give it a try. it will change your relationship forever. I think Rudolf would agree. Right, Rudolf? So, thank you. Thank you.